Could I ask everybody to please stand? If you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. And please join me in My Country 'Tis of Thee. Welcome, I'm Gilbert Smith, and welcome to Bradenton, Kiwanis. All you guests, welcome. We're glad you're here. And I'm going to ask Judge Nicholas, he will come up now to give our invocation and introduce some special guests.
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, during this holy Easter and Passover week, help us understand that your Son's ultimate teaching is that the meaning of life is to discover the gifts that you have given us, the many blessings you have bestowed on us, and the purpose of life is to give them away. Help us to understand that it is when we give of ourselves that we truly give, and that ultimately when we do, we get back so much more than we indeed give. We ask a special blessing on the K kids who have joined us here today, on their advisors and their teachers. We ask you to bless our speaker, give him wisdom and strength as he confronts the challenges of the day on behalf of the people of the great state of Florida. Bless all of us gathered here and those who could not join us, and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and our lives to your service. In Christ we pray. Amen. You may have a seat. Good afternoon. We've got a packed house and a full program, so we're going to get started right away. My name is Ed Nicholas, and I have the pleasure and privilege of being the Kiwanis advisor to our K-Kids clubs. K-Kids clubs are the Kiwanis-sponsored service club in elementary school. The idea is to introduce community service, helping to make the world a better place, to elementary school age students, so that in middle school they join a Builders Club, maybe high school a Key Club, maybe in college they join a Circle K, and hopefully giving back to others, making the world a better place, becomes a lifelong passion like those of us here in the Kiwanis Club. So it is with my great pleasure that I get to introduce 4 of our 10 K-Kids clubs. Our club sponsors 10 here in Manatee County. I'd love to get one in every elementary school in Manatee County. So far we're up to 10. We got a great group. I think when you hear about some of the amazing projects that they've accomplished, that you'll be as proud of them as I am, and you will be recognized that the future is indeed bright. So while the kids who are going to tell us from the schools what you've been up to, Matt and Harlan and Hayden, et cetera, if you'd come forward, and while they're coming forward, if all our K-Kids would stand so that we could give them a warm Kiwanis welcome and thank you. So I would be remiss, you can have a seat, kids. I would be remiss if I didn't also give a special thank you to their advisors. They don't get paid an extra penny for the work that they do. They're amazing role models. So please join me in giving a warm Kiwanis thank you to Ms. Norrington, Ms. Savchuk, Ms. Bigelow, Ms. France, Ms. Murphy, Ms. Callis, Ms. Peters, and Ms. Hughes. Thank you for all you do. All right, as I said, you're going to hear a little bit about what they've been up to this year. Amazing group who've really embraced the idea of giving back to those less fortunate. We're going to start with our kids from Stewart. We're going to hear from Hayden, Parker, and Eliza.
Hello, thank you for having us. We are K-Kids members at Stewart Elementary. We are happy to be a part of the K-Kids Club to help our school and our community be a better place. There are many ways we have supported our school and community this school year. First, the K-Kids participate weekly to recycle our school. 3 days a week, our members on a select day go door to door to pick up all the recycling bins and dump it in a large recycling bin outside for the county to pick up. We work together and help one another.
Second, we helped with the mayor's food drive. We made posters and shared information on the news to support this important cause in our community. We learned how important collecting money and food during the holidays is. We collected over $1,000. Third, we helped with a coat, hat, and mitten drive to support a local agency, Turning Points. We made posters and shared information on the news to support this important cause in our community. We collected over 100 items.
Fourth, we helped raise money for one of our own families at Stewart. We raised money to help a single mother battling cancer for the second time. We raised over $500. Lastly, the K-Kids used some of the funds in our account to support Annual Kindness Week at Stewart. Each kid got a Kindness Matters keychain to put on their backpack to support Kindness Week. We are glad we can make a difference in our school and community. Thank you.
All right, next up is Miller. Next up is Miller. We're going to hear from Matt and Harlan, Miller Elementary.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt. My name is Harlan, and we're from Jesse P. Miller Elementary. This year we have done some great projects and will be doing more before the end of the school year. During November, we held a canned food drive. Each class had a competition to see which class could collect the most. K-Kids collected, counted, and boxed over 2,500 cans. Just before Christmas, the K-Kids took a trip to Publix to shop for meals for needy families. We chose items for Christmas dinner and donated gift cards for turkeys or ham. We had a contest to see which group could stay closest to the set budget. We all did a great job, and a few stayed under the budget by a lot. At the end of this week, we are going to be making and filling out cards for residents of an assisted living facility. They will be delivered with carnations to brighten the Residents' Day. Before the end of school, our group will be participating in a cleanup for our school day. We will be helping pick up trash and other projects to make our school look beautiful. And next month, we will be using some of the money Kiwanis has generously donated to our club to buy supplies to put together care packages for cancer patients going through treatment at Manatee Sarasota Cancer Center. We will include little items that will help when they have their treatments and cards with notes to help them feel better. When we are talking about the cancer care bags, we also had another idea for small blessing bags for homeless people, as well with items like socks, snacks, sunscreen, and toothbrushes and toothpaste. We hope to be able to complete these before school is out as well. We would like to give a big shout out to Mr. Aldrich, who helped us shop at Publix and helped us collect and gather our boxes of cans. And thank you to Judge Nicholas and everyone for having us here today. Thank you, Kiwanis, for all your support.
So it's obvious that the future is bright with all the amazing community service work these kids do. Well done, K-Kids, very well done. Let's hear it one more time for our amazing K-Kids. We got a few more. Sorry, hold the line. We've got McNeil. Come on, girls. Emery, Addie, Aubrey, and Marla going to tell us what McNeil has been up to this year.
Hello, we are the K-Kids officers from McNeil Elementary School. My name is Emery, and this is Addie, Aubrey, and Marla. We would like to start by saying thank you for sponsoring us this year and for having us here today. We would like to tell you about all the projects we were involved with this year.
First of all, we collected
First of all, we kicked off the year by organizing our Socktober sock drive. We collected socks that were delivered to a local shelter that was in need. We went on the school news, made posters to be placed around the school, and encouraged our students to donate if possible. We were able to deliver several large garbage bags full of socks to the shelter.
Next, we made Veterans Day cards for the local veterans that our sponsor Lori Fox delivered at a Kiwanis luncheon. We were also visited by a retired staff sergeant named Dal Vinipal, who was able to talk with us about his military experiences.
Next, we collected Halloween candy from our fellow students after Halloween and made treat bags for local healthcare workers. We wanted to show our thanks for all their hard work they have been doing during these difficult times.
Before Christmas break, we were able to visit a local retirement center and we sang carols with the residents. We also made cards for them to take when we were done singing.
For Valentine's Day, we made 3 large baskets full of cards and treats that we delivered to local fire stations to thank them for keeping us safe and protected.
Finally, our school is holding a leadership night at the school in May. We will be running a booth at the event. We have been creating bookmarks, worry worms, and positive affirmation bracelets that we will be selling at the event. All of our proceeds will be going to the local animal shelter that is in need of support.
Once again, thank you for having us at your luncheon and also for sponsoring us each year.
All right, I'll turn it back over to Gilbert. Again, thank you, K-Kids, for all the work that you do. Imagine all the good works that are out there. That's just 4 of the 10 K-Kids clubs that our club supports. If you become a member, your dues will help make sure these good works continue.
Thank you, Judge Nicholas. And I want to thank all of you for being here today. This is a special day and a historic day, as every day this year is historic for this club. I want to thank all the elected officials that are here. I really want to thank and I appreciate all the judges that are here. We have many judges that are members of this club, but we also have many other judges that are here. So I'm going to ask all the judges if they would stand up, please, be recognized. And then I want to ask all the other elected officials here if they'd please stand to be recognized. And as many of you know, a lot of these elected officials are members of this club, so we do appreciate them being here and being supportive. Now, kids, if you're listening to me, all these people here, all these elected officials showed up to hear you. That's why they came today. When they knew the K-Kids were coming, they all decided to come. So, all right, we're going to have a short history lesson on this club. As we move forward to the 100th year in August of this year, we are exploring each week a year in our history. And for Justice Canady, for Senator Boyd, you may want to walk around to the other side of the table to see this, because you might be in some of the pictures. I said might. The Bradenton Kiwanis Club is known for starting and operating a mobile home park in Bradenton since 1936. As soon as the park began generating profits, the club used the net proceeds to donate to programs benefiting children and the disadvantaged and to other projects throughout the county, making it a better place to live for our citizens. By 1985, the park was generating a net profit of over $400,000, which was all used to donate to these type of programs. I'm going to tell you more about that in a few minutes. One of the big changes in this area during this time was the completion of the New Green Bridge. This photo was taken in 1985 as it was being constructed. It literally changed the main road coming into Bradenton from 9th Street to 10th Street. Lots of businesses were affected, some good and some not so good, And many of you drove over this bridge today. The other big project was the completion of the Bradenton Financial Center on the corner of Manatee Avenue and 14th Street. It changed the west entrance into downtown. And if you look real close, you can see the Boyd Insurance Office. This is a photo of Cliff Walters, our 1985-86 president. And I don't know if Cliff Walters is in our luncheon today, but he might be our tallest president, even though I know that Judge Nicholas is probably getting close up there too, to being tall, one of the tallest. He was a prominent corporate attorney in the area who knew how to resolve conflicts. He had just finished Manatee County Civic Center becoming a reality. And as you know, this club donated $500,000 as seed money to get the project started. Cliff was born in Kentucky and as a young man earned his Eagle Scout Award. He graduated with his bachelor's and law degree from Washington and Lee University, and then he served time in the Army. That service in the Army, coupled with a wedding in Bradenton, landed him a job at Knowles, Blaylock, Coleman, and Landers in 1976. And it's a great story that Cliff needs to tell you. He spent his entire legal career with that firm, which he's still with, and is known as Blaylock Walters. And we can't talk about Cliff without talking about his accomplishments. And the main one I want to talk about is the Accord. The Accord was an agreement that Cliff negotiated between Manatee County, 6 municipalities, and the school board to resolve conflicts that they were having. All our elected officials here know about the Accord. And Cliff continues to resolve conflicts. I sure wish we could use him on the world stage. This next editorial is this article I'm showing you. Remember the donations I was talking to you about. This editorial in Bradenton Herald highlights the need for more foster homes for children who were neglected, abandoned, or abused. This is 1985. To the judges and lawyers here today, this crisis sounds familiar. But this is almost 40 years ago. As the club so often has done in its 100-year history, it donated $25,000 as seed money for a youth ranch in Manatee County and working with the Boys Club and state of Florida. Here is another article on the Girls Club where they received $100,000 from this club toward its new campus in East Bradenton. And that's one of our members, Dan Blaylock Jr., on that photograph. Now this next slide, with all the judges here, I could not leave out the story about another federal judge ruling against Kiwanis International, attempt to keep a club in New Jersey from allowing a woman to become a member. 1986. The judge said it is time to allow women to do more than make pancakes. But Kiwanis International ignored this ruling for now. But guess what? So did this club. When the members of this club voted on whether to allow women to join as members, they overwhelmingly voted that down. Now, that is some history you're going to hear more about in the next few weeks. So I'll see you next week to talk about 1986, 1987, and you can guess who the president will be. He's not as tall as Cliff, but he has the power of the pen. Now, I have asked Senator Jim Boyd to introduce our friend Justice Canady, and photographs tell you a lot about a person. And so I have a couple of photographs to talk to you about and tell you about Jim. This is Jim speaking at Troop 22 50-year anniversary. And these following pictures are pictures of Jim teaching Boy Scouts. Now, he taught for years the merit badge course and as a legislator. And as many of our judges do here, or all of the judges do here, and all of you do so much community service for children. And all the kids here, the K kids, you're at the scouting age, and right now you're going to get to hear just a few minutes from Senator Jim Boyd, who can tell you what he's done with the Boy Scouts, but he'll probably wait till later. We may have him back next year, and we will hope you come back at that time. So without any further ado, let's have Senator Jim Boyd, if you would come up.
Thanks, Your Honor. Real briefly before I start, K-Kids, congratulations. What an impressive group you are. As your senator, I'm so proud of you and what you're doing in our community to make a difference. Keep it up. You'll be leaders just like the others in this room one day, and we're so proud of what you are and what you will become in your life. So thank you again for that. And Your Honor, Judge Smith, thank you so much for this privilege and high honor of introducing your guest speaker today. He's so important that I wrote some notes, so I hope you'll bear with me. We could go on and on about his resume, but I want to give you a little background on who Chief Justice Charles Canady is. Chief Justice Charles T. Canady was born in Lakeland, Florida in 1954. He is married to Jennifer Houghton Canady. They have 2 children, and he received his BA from Haverford College in 1976 and his JD from Yale Law School in 1979. I guess you couldn't get into Florida State Law School, Judge, but that fallback was a pretty good spot. Kids, I'm kidding. That's like one of the best law schools in the land. Chief Justice Canady practiced law with the firm of Holland & Knight in Lakeland from 1979 through 1982. He then practiced with the firm of Lane Trone, 83 through 1982. From November 1984 to November of 1990, Chief Justice Canady served 3 terms in the Florida House of Representatives, and from January 93 to January of 2001, he served 4 terms in the United States House of Representatives. Throughout his service in Congress, Chief Justice Canady was a member of the House Judiciary Committee. For 3 terms, from January 95 to January 2001, Justice Canady was the chairman of the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution. Upon leaving Congress, Justice Canady became general counsel to Governor Jeb Bush. He was then appointed by Governor Bush to the Second District Court of Appeals for a term beginning November 20, 2002. On August 28th of 2008, Chief Justice Canady was appointed to the Florida Supreme Court by Charlie Crist, who was governor at the time, and he took office September 8th, happens to be my wife's birthday, 2008. He served as Florida's 54th Chief Justice from July of 2010 through June of 2012. He was then elected by his colleagues to serve as Chief Justice for a second time starting July 1st, 2018, and a third time starting July 1st, 2020. As a point of personal privilege, I will tell you there is not a finer man in this state than Chief Justice Canady. He stands for what's right. He believes in families. He believes in you and I, and he serves that way. And also, we reunited when I got into the Florida House in 2010. The Canadys, the Boyds, and the Childs have a friendship that spans several decades. So I'm very proud to call you my friend, sir. Welcome, Chief Justice Charles Canady.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Senator, for that very kind introduction. It is a special privilege to be with you all here today, Senator Boyd and with the K-Kids and all the judges who've come today. And it's fun to hear about the amazing history of your club. I mean, Judge Smith was telling me a little more than what was just gone over here today about the history of this club, and it truly is a remarkable club, and all of you can be proud of being part of something that has such a glorious history, and you're carrying on that tradition. But what I thought I'd do today is talk just briefly about the state of our courts and give you a little overview of that quickly. I will say, before I launch into that this is kind of a walk down memory lane for me coming to Bradenton because in my youth, which is a long time ago, as you can tell, I've got to take those dates out of that bio because it gives away my antiquity. But many years ago, the law firm I was with in Lakeland actually had an office here in Bradenton, and I spent time over here in Bradenton, and our firm represented Manatee County. Actually, and so I enjoyed the time I spent over here, just up the river. The office was up the river, maybe about a mile, and so I enjoyed that time very much. And so it's good to be here with you today. But as everybody knows, the whole world's been through an amazing, difficult time over the last 2 years. And the pandemic operations of the court were a challenge, like everybody had a challenge. Particularly challenging for courts, because courts require people to be together, typically. That's our model. We bring people together. And we actually issue people invitations they can't refuse to be together, okay? So, we say, you will be there, okay? And if you don't, the sheriff will go get you and bring you. So we have had some unique challenges, but we really, I think, did a pretty amazing job of pivoting to doing as much as we possibly could through the use of Zoom and other remote technology. And it was very quick that we pivoted. Now, if you go back in hindsight, I'm sure there are a lot of things we could have done better. And I think we need to be looking at that as we come out of this to figure out how in the future, when we have if we have another situation like this, we can learn from the missteps that we made during this experience. But overall, I'm very proud of the way our judges pivoted to the use of the Zoom technology. And, if you think the courts were really shut down, we were never shut down. We were never shut down. Now, we did not have jury trials for an extended period of time. And one of the things that was really weighed on my mind in those early days of March 2 years ago, when it's like something bad's coming, it weighed on me that we were requiring the jury pools to show up. And I'm thinking, those are invitations that people can't refuse. They can get excuses, but people are told they need to appear. And so we had to take measures to make sure that we were not putting people in an unsafe situation. But we pivoted to the use of Zoom for a lot of things, and we got a lot of things resolved using Zoom. Until we could get back to having the jury trials, it's hard to get a lot of other things resolved. Because as those of you who are judges know, and the lawyers know, most cases in our court system never actually go to trial. They get resolved before the trial. But it is the looming prospect of an immediate trial that concentrates the minds of the parties and the lawyers to get the cases resolved. That's true on the civil side. It's also true on the criminal side. And so without having the threat of the jury trials, a lot of things backed up. And we had an enormous backlog that developed. And then when we were going back to jury trials a little less than a year ago, then we had some things that slowed that down because of Delta. And so we've had a lot of challenges. But we've made really some enormous progress. And I want to express my gratitude to the legislature for giving us resources to help us deal with our backlog, our pandemic recovery plan. I appreciate the appropriation for that last year, as well as the appropriation this year. Unfortunately, we weren't able to spend all the money because we couldn't hire people. We've got the same problems with the job market that everybody's having. It's just hard to hire people. So that hampered us some. But even with those difficulties, we've really made some amazing progress with reducing our backlog. And I won't bore you with all the statistics here. But as of June 30th of 2021, we had an estimated backlog of about 600,000 cases. That is 600,000 cases more than we would have anticipated being pending at that time, but for the pandemic, okay? We've been able to reduce that by about 30% over the days since the beginning of July through the end of last month. Now, on some dockets, we have done really, I think, amazingly well. On the county civil and circuit civil, we've actually been able to reduce the backlog by 50% or more. And that has come through very aggressive case management. I instituted some requirements for case management. Again, it's part of the idea, what I was talking about earlier, about having that looming trial date. People are getting trial dates. And when they get trial dates, then it's like, okay, this is real. We got to get saddled up and ride, and a lot of cases are getting resolved. Now, we've got cases that the harder cases to resolve are still there. So our progress is going to slow down because we've gotten the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. But I am very proud of our trial court judges for the work they've been doing. And it's been a challenging time throughout the pandemic, and then dealing with this backlog. The judges are working hard, and it's been challenging for the lawyers as well, and for all our justice system partners. And I just want to say how grateful I am to all the people involved in our system who have, during the time of the pandemic and in the backlog, have done what they need to do to help keep the wheels of justice moving, and to get through this backlog. I want so to the judges table here and the judges elsewhere, I say thank you. To the clerk who's here, I'm glad to see Clerk Kolonesko. I appreciate the way you work with us, and we appreciate the obviously we work hand in glove with the clerks. We are there both to serve the public. And we appreciate the contribution that the clerks make and their staff make to the work of our system. Obviously, we can't do the work that we need to do without the clerks, and so we appreciate the good relationship that we seek to cultivate with the clerks, and appreciate your clerk here for her leadership that she has provided. So with this active case management, I think we've made some progress. Now, we're all trying to figure out what the new normal is going to look like. I mean, again, it's not just in the court system. Everybody's trying to figure out what the new normal is going to look like. We've got some cases, rules cases, because our court has a responsibility for promulgating rules of court for the administration of our system. And we're looking, we've got some pending cases. I can't talk about the substance of that, but that's to help us figure out what the new normal is going to look like. Those things are pending. The court will be making decisions on that. In the meantime, we're actually kind of still operating under some of these emergency orders to help us deal with the results of the pandemic. We're looking at there's a lot going on in our branch where we're looking at other things to help us improve the resolution of civil cases. That's pending at the court. Another thing that's significant that has happened in our system, this hadn't happened since 1979, as I recall. We have the legislature has created a new district court, and we've got a system of courts where we got the trial level courts, the county and circuit courts, and then we've got the district courts of appeal, and then the Supreme Court. Well, the district we've had 5 district courts around the state. The state's divided up into 5 geographical districts, but the legislature passed legislation to create a 6th court, a 6th district court of appeal. Now, the governor's got to sign that. I don't even know that the bill's been presented to him yet, but he's got to sign that. So, but if the governor signs it, we'll have a 6th district court. You will, in this area, will remain in the 2nd district, but a big chunk of the existing 2nd district is going to go into the new 6th district. Lakeland, that's the circuit that Lakeland's in, as well as to the south of your circuit, down in Naples, down as far south as Naples, will be along with Orlando and Osceola County, will be in the new 6th district, which will be headquartered in Lakeland. And so that's all in the works. If the governor signs it, then we've got to have the new court set up and running by the beginning of the year. And I see Judge Brewer here. Judge Brewer was actually on the assessment committee that presented the court with recommendations. And basically, the committee made recommendations to us. The court acted on those. And then, of course, we just make recommendations to the legislature. So the legislature ultimately decided that they would create a new district court. And one thing that's important to understand about our system is that our district courts are really, for most purposes, the court of last resort in Florida. The Florida Supreme Court has somewhat limited jurisdiction. We get a lot of cases. We get some things come to us automatically, like death cases, cases in which a sentence of death is imposed. But for most cases coming out of the county or circuit court, the end of the road is going to be the District Court of Appeal, because there's limited categories of cases that can come to us. So the district courts are very important, and so we've got this new sixth DCA that has been created, pending action by the governor. Now, one other thing at our court, we have a new Chief Justice who's going to be starting July 1. Last week I looked at my count. I have a countdown clock going on that, actually. I won't bore you with the days, hours, and minutes and seconds, but I do have that count going. Justice Carlos Muniz, who came onto our court about a little over 3 years ago, is going to be the new Chief Justice beginning July 1. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity I've had to be Chief Justice for 6 years. I think it's been quite a long time since anybody's been Chief Justice in Florida for 6 years, because we had a pattern there of rotating it every 2 years, and we kind of varied from that. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to hand what we call the front office over to Justice Muniz starting July 1. Now, with that, I'm going to stop talking, and if we have any time, maybe we have a few minutes, I will open it up to you for questions. Now, I'll be happy to answer absolutely any question you want to ask me, except any question about a pending or impending case, a question about anything political or anything controversial. So anything other than that, I'll be happy to answer. And if you ask me something that I can't answer, I'll tell you I can't answer. So yes, sir. Oh, a very small sliver of that, because again, ours is just numbered in the thousands, and most of those cases that come to us really we get a lot of what we call prisoner writs that don't have any business coming to our court. A lot of those get transferred. A lot of those get just dismissed. And then we have a jurisdictional request for us to take jurisdiction. A lot of those do involve judicial labor more than the other categories I talked about, but they don't involve a full decision on the merits. If we decide not to take jurisdiction. So it's a big system. Florida's a big state, and we've got a lot of judges working hard. Now, of course, in terms of the number of cases overall, most cases, most people that go to court in Florida are going to go to county court. And most of them don't want to be there. Sometimes you want to, or sometimes even the people that want to go wish they didn't have to go, okay? And then other people have gotten those invitations they can't refuse. But that's where the people's court, where the bulk of the number of cases are resolved. And of course, our circuit courts are also very busy in a state like Florida. I will say that our dockets have been pretty stable or have actually declined. Still a lot, but it's hard to figure out what affects our dockets. It's not a simple population thing. Population can go up and the dockets can go down. So it's a complicated thing. We try to figure out, to predict, figuring out judicial need for the number of judges we need. We try to figure out what the caseload is going to be like, but there are factors there that are hard. Now, like the docket on our court has really gone down, partly because the death cases have dried up during the pandemic because you couldn't have jury trials. And even the post-conviction death cases, which are cases where typically there's a challenge. After the sentence is final, there's a challenge to the performance of the lawyer, or there's a claim about newly discovered evidence. Those are conviction. I'm sorry? Every time? Oh, yeah, in death cases, every time, multiple times. In death cases, we get successive post-conviction appeals, but that's kind of dried up to a large extent because even certainly for the direct appeals, which are from the jury judgments and sentences of death, but even the post-conviction cases have dried up to a large extent because they require evidentiary hearings, and it's been difficult to, earlier on, it was difficult to conduct those evidentiary hearings. That was an easy question, so I mean, keep it like that. Yes, sir.
You address death cases, but what other types of cases
Okay.
come to you that you actually rule?
A good question. We have various categories. I won't give you the exhaustive list, but one of the major categories of cases that come to us are cases in which there is a conflict between a principle of law that is used in deciding a case for which review is sought and another case decided by another district court on the same principle of law, where where one court decides this is the rule, and another court decides no, this is the rule. So they're in conflict, and so we're there to help resolve those conflicts. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's the sum and the substance of it. So that's one category. We also consider cases that are questions of that involve a ruling on a question of great public importance that are certified to us by the district court. So the district courts actually can decide whether they're going to give us the opportunity to review a case. And so if they certify a question, and that question, they've actually ruled on it can't be just a hypothetical question, it's got to be something they've ruled on, then those come to us and we can decide whether to take it. Now, I will say these are discretionary jurisdiction cases. We don't have to take them. We can take them when we want to. Now, the death cases, that's mandatory. We have to take those. We also have mandatory jurisdiction if a district court declares a statute constitutionally invalid. Okay? So if they strike down a statute, then we have mandatory jurisdiction over that. Now, somebody has to ask us to take the case, but if the aggrieved party in the case asks us to take it, then we have to take it. It's mandatory. If a district court determines that a statute is constitutionally valid, okay, the other was invalid. If they determine it was valid, then we have discretionary jurisdiction to take that, okay? We also get cases where we have mandatory jurisdiction to review decisions of the Public Service Commission. Okay, those come to us. Now, in addition to those things, and there's some other things, but those are the kind of the main things. We get questions certified to us. I mentioned we get questions certified to us by the federal courts, the Federal Court of Appeals. The 11th Circuit, which is the Court of Appeals for Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. If they've got a case in the federal system that involves a question of state law that is not settled, then they can certify the question to us. The U.S. Supreme Court could also do that. They've never certified a question to us, but we are the ultimate expositors of the law of Florida. I mean, we decide what the law of Florida is. The federal courts decide what federal law is, including the federal Constitution, which may trump Florida law. But as far as a question of Florida law, we're the ultimate expositor. Our court is the ultimate expositor of that. But in addition to those things, our court has responsibility for the Florida bar, for the admission of lawyers to the bar, and for the discipline of lawyers once they're in. The Florida Board of Bar Examiners is kind of our entity that we use for the admission of lawyers, and the Florida Bar administers the system of discipline for lawyers. But we, if somebody gets in trouble and that can end up, we're responsible for the ultimate imposition of discipline for lawyers. We also are responsible for disciplining judges. We have a Judicial Qualifications Commission, and they make factual determinations and recommendations to us if concerning whether a judge has violated the canons of ethics applicable to judges and what the penalty should be if they have violated them. So those cases come to us. Most frequently, the penalty for judges, and we really very rarely have anything that's corruption. That's usually the judge is gone. If there's some actual corruption, they're off in the hands of the executive, being prosecuted. But absent that, I mean, most of what we get is judges just kind of making a mistake and kind of forgetting they're a judge for a minute or for a little longer than a minute. And so the most common sanction that we impose on judges is a reprimand, but there's a public reprimand where they come up before a court. Yes, sir.
First, on behalf of the Florida Association of Crime Stoppers and our 27 chapters, I want to thank you for your efforts to keep the courts open and keep law and order moving forward, because certainly that has a big impact on how we operate our programs. The question that I had for you, I'm aware that some state Supreme Courts actually will pick 1 or 2 business days out of the month when they're in session, and they will rotate doing their hearings or their business to metropolitan areas around the state, maybe having hearings or seeing cases in a high school auditorium for public awareness and education. And at this time when law and order is constantly being challenged, I think that something like that may be an idea. Have you ever considered?
That is something we have considered, and actually it was something that I was interested in pursuing during my time as Chief Justice. Then the pandemic came. And so that's kind of thrown everything into, for an extended period, that was kind of off the agenda, because we never really, we missed 1 month of oral argument that happened right after everything the pandemic was upon us. But right after that, we pivoted to Zoom, and then for an extended period, we really didn't miss a beat. We're handling things on Zoom. But I actually think that's a good idea. I think I would like to see us do it. Now, I can't. I will say that's something I've actually discussed with the incoming chief, and I think it's something that he might be interested in as well. Of course, the court would collectively decide whether we're going to do it. But I think it makes a lot of sense in a state like Florida. I actually think. I mean, one of the things that we're concerned about is making sure that we conduct ourselves in a way that inspires trust and confidence in our courts. And I think that could be a measure that would help people better understand what we do and feel like they have a connection with us. And obviously, we're their Supreme Court. We're there to serve the people of the state, just like the judges here are here to serve the people in this area. We're there for the people of the state. So I think anything we can do to help communicate that is good. You know, when I was on the district court, I served on the district court for a number of years, as you may remember from the senator's introduction. We did travel around. We didn't do it every month, but we would at least once a year we'd have a panel somewhere else. We had panels in Bradenton. I remember I came down and had a oral argument day here in Bradenton. We've had oral arguments in Naples, I recall. So there's certainly precedent for that. It's a little more complicated for the 7 of us to travel around than it is for 3 judges on a district court, because the district courts, of course, hear cases with a panel of 3 judges. And so finding a space that works for the 7 of us to be on the bench, but it can be done. It can be done. And so I think that's a good idea, and that's something I hopefully we'll be able to implement. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned controversial decisions. I wouldn't ask you about one, but when one is approaching, is there something that you like to keep in mind, mental preparation or personal way you like to look at it? You want as much information or as little information? How do you look at it?
When I approach any case, I approach the case as a person who is under orders, okay? I'm there, wearing a black robe when I'm on the bench, but I try to have that same mindset. This is not about me. It's not about what I think about, what I would like to happen in the case. It's not about my personal policy preferences. It's about the orders I'm under, okay? What the first and foremost, the constitutions, because that's our supreme law. And then subject to that, the laws that the legislature's passed, and then also our rules of court, which are a form of law. And so I look at those things, I look at the facts, and I make a decision based on that framework. Now, sometimes that can be challenging, and I think we always have to look at statutes. We've got to look at statutes in their full context, but I'm always focused on the text of the governing law, and I think that's what we should do. I want to provide justice under law, not just my conception of justice. Now, it would be fun just to do my conception of justice, because then, you can kind of take into account all the things that you think might be good to take into account. But that's not the way our constitutional system was set up to operate. I didn't get selected because I'm a moral philosopher, okay? I got selected because I'm somebody who can look at texts and understand them. And again, that can be challenging. I mean, sometimes people, and most of us on my court have that same philosophy, but we can look at things with that same philosophy and still come to different conclusions. That happens. I mean, the person I'm probably the closest to on the court, we will disagree. It's not a lot, but sometimes we'll disagree very strongly about things, and we are looking through the same lens, but we're looking from a different angle for one reason or another. And a lot of the hard decisions in the law are about putting together different parts of the law that have a bearing on a decision, and you've got to figure out how it fits together. And sometimes it's a matter of what part of it you're going to emphasize rather than another part of it. But I hope that's responsive to your question. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a planned vacation July 1st, and if so, where?
No, I really don't. I wish I did, but I won't say what it is, but my wife is involved in a certain enterprise, so she can't go anywhere. And so I really don't want to go without my wife. And so I'm just going to swelter. I'll enjoy the summer here, but I am looking forward to July 1, and there'll be time later for a getaway, but not this summer. Okay. Well, again, thank you all so much for having me. Thank you.
So before I thank Judge Canady for being here, I do want to mention that as one of the judges, and actually Judge Bonner here could say it better than me, when the pandemic hit, unlike anything we've had since 1916, when it was the Spanish flu, as it was called, hit and affected the courts, Judge Canady put his team together. Judge Bonner was on his team. And it worked smoothly to keep the courts open as he's talked about. And, things changed. We were on Zoom. We were rotating coming in the office. But through this team, probably better than anywhere I've heard of, Judge Canady and Judge Bonner led this state through a very difficult time. And they should be commended for that. It's just great what they did. So it's a tradition at Bradenton and Kiwanis to award our speaker with a golden ruler to measure your future success. So, and Jim, come on up here. And would you get on each side?
Oh, I thought I got a consolation prize.
No, yours is coming later. I just want to thank both to have Senator Jim Boyd here, Chief Justice Charles Canady here. This is historic for this club. We've never had a Justice of the Supreme Court here as a speaker, much less the Chief Justice. So we're real fortunate to have him here. They both have such a connection to this area of Florida, and we appreciate them being here. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. Thank you. Neil, will you come up? And so I want to thank everybody for being here. This is a historic occasion for us to have such a big group and to have the K-Kids with us on this. I've asked Neil to come up here because we have a great speaker next week, but I can't pronounce their name. So, Neil?
You have the book?
No, well, anyway, we have the speaker. The speaker next week is going to be a visiting scholar from New College. She was educated in the Ukraine, and she's going to be talking to us about the Eastern Europe and the conflict there. So I want to thank all of you for being here. We have this much fun every week, and if you have any interest, please join us and become a member. We'd love to have you. So this time, thank you for being here. We adjourn.